G'day, I'm Andrew from Shingleback Off-Road, and today we're going to go ahead and assemble a Shingleback bike rack. Righto, the basic tools you're going to need are a couple of 13mm spanners, an 18 and a 19, or a shifter, and if you've got it, a rattle gun comes in handy as well with some deep sockets. Yeah, so you've got the two boxes. We've got the cradle box. You'll have your cradles and all your other plates, like your pivot plates, the top bar plate, the bottom bar plate, number plate board. You've got a bolt bag, the speed lock pin, instructions, tow bar tube, and then in the long box you have the center post with the foot latch assembly, which is already assembled and installed, and you've got the top bar. It's got the sticker on it, and you've got the bottom bar. To start off with, you're going to need your car's hitch pin that came with your car's tow bar, and start by inserting the bike rack, this is the tow bar tube, into your hitch. Have these offset holes up normally, slide it into your hitch, go as deep in as you can go generally, find the hole that lines up, sliding through there, R-clip, and now always a really loose fit, so that's why we need to put the anti-rattle clamp on. So this is the anti-rattle clamp. Slide him on this way around with that bit of rod that way, up like that, and now you do it up tight like so. Now it's always good to finish off with a ring spanner, alternate side to side until it's tight. And when it comes time to take the rack off, you only need to loosen each one a few turns each and just leave it hanging on the rack when you pull the rack off. We're going to put the pivot plates together now, so start by putting a couple of the big bolts through those two bottom holes as shown. And now you'll notice there's a big selection of holes here. That's because it's sort of a modular design and very adjustable. Generally go as close to your car as possible. Some cars have spare wheels on the back door, you might have to come out here, but cars like this you can go closer, so always go to the closer holes. And you also notice there's some offset holes, and the reason for the offset holes is you can get the rack to angle even more towards your car. The rack will tilt even more towards your car if your car can accept that. Otherwise, recommended just to select the holes more in the middle, that keeps it straight. So in this case it'll be this hole here and the matching one there. Go washer and nut, but don't do them up. So now we're going to fit the aluminium spacers. Put the bottom one in like so, but when you do the top one, grab your speed lock pin and put the bolt through the tab washer with the bend going up, and then thread it through the pivot plate and the aluminium spacer. And this top bolt that you've just put in, you can do this one only up just firm for now to stabilise it all while you fit the centre post. So now we're going to assemble the centre post. So the foot latch is already assembled, but we do need to put the spring on. So move the latch all the way that way, hook the spring into the lug, and then pop it onto the button like so. So to put the centre post in, I find it easy to feed it in on this tilted down to the ground angle. Line up the pivot hole, big bolt, get it to ramp up until it latches in, and now you can do the bolts up. Righto, so now you can do these 4 bolts up tight, but the main pivot bolt only go firm, otherwise it'll crush it in too tight and it'll bind up when you pivot the rack. Now check to see how well it moves. You should be able to delatch it. It should tilt back with a little bit of friction, but not too much, and it should snap into position nicely. Now insert your limit bolt to suit your vehicle. So for most vehicles you can go about here, and it's a good amount of tilt to allow back of your car to open, but you can experiment with your car. Now with the limit bolt, it's really important to leave this one actually a bit loose and rattly like that, because if there's any tension on that, you'll crush the plates together and it will bind up when it tilts back. Now insert your speed lock pin. You just got to push the little button with your thumb, poke it through the hole all the way, and it's always good to just give it a quick test that it can't come out. And if that button's popped out, it means it's working fine. So always remember to insert the pin. It's just redundancy. It makes it 100% safe to use. You should never just rely on any sort of latch without some sort of secondary safety device. So for the top bar plates, grab 2 of the small bolts, go for those holes there, poking through these holes here. I find it easy to stick your head around the back. You can see where they need to be. Put the back plate on. It can only go one way. Washer and nut on the back. Just do the bottom one up just firm for now. Fit the top bar. Always have the Shingleback sticker facing you and the Shingleback logos facing you, so it's around the right way. For now, just put the two corner bolts in, and also for now only put a washer or nut on the back one. So for now only put a washer or nut on this one bolt here. I'll show you why shortly. Crush tubes to the end, you just poke it in until it lines up with that first hole. So we're going to fit the cradles, use the default pattern in the instructions. We're doing a 4-bike today, so you just follow where the bolts are. So you use the small bolt. It's important you have a washer under the head of the bolt. Use the hole per instruction, and you have a washer and nut underneath as well. I find it easier to dangle the bolts through the holes in the cradle and then just lower it onto the top bar. The default pattern's designed to stagger the cradles, and with the 4-bike rack, because you've got less cradles, you can actually skip a couple of holes. So the pattern says to go a couple of holes in, which gives even more clearance between the bikes. Yeah, so the default pattern in the instructions works for most of the time, but it is possible to customise the cradle positions to suit your fleet of bikes or your family's bikes. It doesn't matter what size rack you have, you'll end up with a cradle where there's one bolt that ends up being pretty close in line with the centre post, and you won't be able to get to it. So that's why earlier on I said to only put one washer and nut loosely on this one bolt here, because now we're going to remove this bolt and tilt the thing to the side to access that bolt. But before we do, a bit of a pro tip, the black plastic caps for the nuts, put on these bolts here so you don't scratch your rack by accident. Now you have full access to put the washer and nut on this cradle bolt. Swing the top bar back into position, put the mounting bolt back through, put the centre mounting bolt through as well, and now you can put the washers and nuts on and do all 5 of these up tight. So we're up to putting the last cradle on, and so in the default instructions we always rotate this end cradle one hole away from the other bikes to give it even more bike-to-bike clearance. So to do that, to rotate the cradle, just go that hole on that side, and instead of going on the same hole on that side, you go one hole in, and that has the effect of rotating the cradle. Through the crush tube on the end, we've already put that in. Yep, finish off by putting the nut caps under the cradle bolts, and then put the square end caps in the end of the top bar tube. You can grab a rubber mallet, block of wood, or just give it a whack. We'll fit the bottom bar plate. We'll just go to the standard setting here. If you've got long bikes, go to the long bike setting down there. Washer and nut on the back only. You can do these up tight now. We're going to fit the bottom bar. Just make sure all the buttons are facing up, and it's important to have a washer under the head of the bolt. The bolt feeds through the bottom bar that way. Bit of a tip, pop the bungee out, otherwise you'll capture it in there with the bolt. Washer and nut on the back. Each rack comes with a number plate board. It's really important to get yourself a proper auxiliary number plate from your car department, whatever they're called in your state. And when there's no bikes on the rack, we simply just choke it around the bottom bar like so. Or if your bike rack's full of bikes, you just undo it and you move it to the tyres of the bikes out here. Rack's all done, let's give it a test. Pull your speed lock pin out, tilt it back. To make it even easier to roll bikes in, you can just put your knee under the seat and give it a bit of a knee up as you roll it in.